1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I understand that. Alright, on my broadcast. Okay, and we're live on the air. Okay, this is the beginning of a broadcast for a short period of time. I'm not going to be totally active all night long. It's already 2:43 in the morning in the AM, being live. Everything seems to be set up. Everything's going. Wow, they already made it a hassle to get in on live broadcast on Google Plus. They already have, and I don't know why they made it so hard. All my invites should be able to get right in on here. Let's see. I need to go to my home. This is not my home. Interesting. So share what's new. Well, that's not going to help me either. Where's my home page? It says home. I guess I need to go to Spellfinder Plus. Okay, I'm live. It shows me live at 2:42 Eastern Time. Oh wow, since I've been on here, since they changed the format again, made it harder to be on here. Interesting, very interesting. Home. How many windows is this going to open up? Oh, no. Booking.com. I got this horrible adware program that keeps popping up if I want it or not. And it's on both of my... It's on Internet Explorer and... I wonder why I got high CPU use. Okay. Well, I'm trying to go to my home page. Maybe I should just add a comment to my live video and just put this in there. And maybe I'll get people on here. That's not it. I don't know what that is. Okay, add comment. This is how you get in. Oh, I get it. Oh, I really get it now. Paste. Okay. There's how you get in. I left a link to get in. Saturday Night Headlines Live. Being shared publicly. And that's all I can really do right now. If you go to Google Plus, you'll find on the live section, you'll see the Firewolf. And underneath in comments, I have a link. And that's the only way you're going to get in. This is very unusual, to say the least, how to get in. I mean, I leave an invitation. Normally, they're supposed to leave you a link. But this is Google Plus. It's always difficult to get in. Always difficult. I have no idea why they make it so difficult. You should just be able to get the invitation and it says you want to join, and you just hit the button join and you come up on my screen. And that is not happening. So I'm leaving a link on my Google Plus site, or at least the site that says googleplus.com. It shows all the people who are live right now. Well, not really. I'm the only one live on this page. And, well, it's also shared on YouTube, which is kind of strange because I don't know if they're leaving a link for you to get in. They do got share what's new. And this is supposed to be my homepage. And I'm really confused on how to get people to join. I open up my group chat, but you have to join to get on the chat. That's another little hoop you have to jump through to get on here. I'm still trying to figure this out. After all this time, they keep changing it and making it more and more difficult. Okay. I got a text that just says, share what's new. I don't even get my Google Plus homepage any longer. That seemed to have gone away with everything else. I don't know if it's being shared on YouTube, on my YouTube page, or not, because they interconnected these two, and I just don't know. I'm lost to understand. Oh well. Let's continue. Alrighty then. I guess if you go to the live broadcast on Google Plus account, you can get in that way. Seem to be the only one that's on this Google Plus page. It's my home page, but it's not my home page. My home page used to have a picture of a beach or something, and I can't find that. Very, very bizarre. Stream layout following. Very, very interesting. People, photos, community, events, hangouts, pages. Let me go to hangouts on this and see if I'm on it. Saturday headlines. There I am live on the Google Hangouts. Shows me live. There's other people on there. I'm on top. For some reason it has no picture where I'm at. And I don't know why. Howling Wolf, will you come in? I know you can figure a way of getting in here. And then maybe you can explain the new way this is working. I mean, when I went to my home before, it would take me to a home page, kind of like a YouTube home page, where it would have a little introduction and all that stuff. I see myself on here live, and next to it is Gaza, the myth of Israel, right to exist with Brother Nathaniel. Nathaniel's on here. And in the comment section, add a comment, I put the Hangout address. And it's under the Firewolf. You can click on the watch, or you can click on that link and come on in. Just blows me away. This whole new setup. It's been a while since I've been on here. Been busy working. Have a day job. It's the weekend, so at 2:53 I decided to come on here. Actually, I came on earlier. 2:42. And I made the title Saturday Headlines. And it's just me, myself, and I right now, and one viewer. I don't know what happened to my homepage. Very interesting. I mean, I gained one. I got invites out there for the late night owl people for Friday night, Saturday morning. And waiting for people to show up. Somebody's got to be able to get in here. It's a live broadcast. Let's talk about the jet. Let's talk about the jet got blown out of the sky. Okay. Do you think Putin would have done it? Do you think that Russia would have went out of their way to shoot a civilian jet out of the air? Or do you think that the Ukraine puppet government did it themselves when they actually came out in a video and said, hey, the rebels did not do it? The rebels being the ones who do not or denounced their government in the Ukraine because it was a puppet lead, like Obama in office. The election was rigged, type deal. And if the election was rigged, do the people have the right in Ukraine to stand up to it? I know we have the right here to do it. We have. And since Congress is controlled by the NSA and the other organizations out there, and they have all their skeletons in a closet on record with the NSA, they can't do anything at all. Their hands are tied. The Senate's hands are tied. They can't impeach the government. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
I
Yes. I hear you.
I'm Punch.
Huh? Yes. Like I was saying, what's going on in the world today is very upsetting. If we go into World War III, it's going to be a very bad, bad day. You'll have to have sunscreen 20,000 to protect yourself, which isn't going to be a good thing. World War III breaks out, which we're already in. I have to admit we're in World War III. And, well, I don't know. What's your opinion on what's happening in the world today in the headlines? And have you seen my headline news for this week? You're being very silent, Matto. Okay, you're just listening in. I understand. See what other. See, I just watched U.S. planned aircraft shoot down in 2003 to start a war. This is on Alex Jones' channel today. Uh, it it states it out. Mike Rivero's on his show, WhatReallyHappened.com on Bamboozer, uh, pointed out all this. That no, why would Putin do something like this? Because it's going to bring the scourge of the world upon him. It's the same way as like Syria. Why would Syria gas their own people, which has been proven that it was the rebels? Well, these weren't rebels; they're mercenaries, and uh, and it came out that they actually did that when all the inspection people came there to look at his weapons, and suddenly there's this attack on the civilians using chemical weapons. Now, nobody would do that because I'd bring the scourge of the world upon the government of that country. And nobody wants that. And that's the question to ask. Why would anyone want to do that? It's just not right. And you're on the air, right, Matu?
Yes.
Yes, yes. I'm just wondering what your opinion is. I mean, they've been blaring on the headlines all day long that Russia did this, Russia had to do this. We got to go to war with them. McCain comes out as a mad dog and says, yes, we got to go to war again. We got to send your children off to throw themselves on the bayonets of the banksters. Well, he didn't quite say it that way, but it, you know. And that's because these countries, see, Putin just came back from a meeting with 80 other countries wanting to get off of the petrodollar, which is the American dollar for oil. And he was supposedly coming back on the same route nearly that the Malaysia flight was flying. And all it was that they saw this jet come through at the time span and go, well, that must be his jet. Let's shoot it down. Well, the Ukraine government, the puppet government, shot it down and goes, oh, we made an error. That wasn't Putin's jet. Putin was too smart. He went around. And that's what happened with that. But that's aside the point. Putin plays a chess game while the American government and other European countries play poker during a chess game. And see, Putin's see, Russia is based on chess. They do these strategic moves, and they're all strategically planned to be on top. Well, our government's doing the crazy thing, and they're playing poker. You know, let's see if you're bluffing. Type of game. And well, in chess, there is no real bluff in the game. It's playing a game strategically and thinking several moves ahead. And apparently, Putin's been the statesman on this whole deal because everyone else has gone with the New World Order banksters who want to take countries down for their oil. It's as simple as that. Ah, you're from France. Bonjour yourself. Yes, it must be morning there. It's 5 hours ahead, so it must be, let's see. 8 o'clock in the morning in France. Bonjour, français. And I'm glad you found my channel this early in the morning your time and this late at night my time. Thank you for joining in on the conversation. But there's certain elements about what's going on that just doesn't make sense. A lot of it is that these countries wouldn't be doing these things outright. So, the major powers won't do this stuff because, like I said, it brings the scourge of the world upon them, brings an eye upon them. The eye of Soros looks upon them if they do these evil deeds. So how are you? Okay, let's see. Let me see what I can find on here as an article. Having a little bit of trouble with my minicam. It stopped responding for some reason. Okay. Hello.
Hello, Emo. Hello, Emo.
Emo, you found me. Ah, glad it. He says hi. Um, he doesn't have his microphone on yet. Still working on that. He'll be on here in a moment. He's a night owl, so I knew he'd show up eventually. And he'd come on air. Yes, where is your microphone? He's having a little trouble tonight getting on here, or he's just listening in at the moment. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Wonder if TJ would be on here. I was expecting him. I gave an invite out to all my followers and all my circles, and so I'm just waiting to see who actually shows up tonight. It's late at night. Late. I usually get what's his name from England. I have a couple English people that come on here because 8 o'clock in the morning they have nothing better to do. They usually show up here too. And then sometimes I get the Australians, which is early in the evening for them. I'm looking at about 6-7 hours ago. It'd be actually late evening for Australia. There would be midnight in California. And I usually get some people in at this time. This is the only time I get to broadcast during the week because it's the weekend and I don't have to go work in the morning, so I usually start up a little chat late Saturday night chat, or actually late Friday night chat, early Saturday morning. And you're speaking in French. I can interpret French writing. I have a tendency to be able to read foreign languages over understanding when they're spoken for some reason. And I see that you're still asking him to get his mic on. And I don't know why Emo hasn't turned his mic on. I have no control over that as far as I know. Nope, I have no control. It's all him. It's all him. He's got his mic muted, and he's the one that muted his mic. Okay. I seem to be set up here to have my Firewolf come up. I don't know why my minicams was not responding earlier, but it says I'm on air and everything's working fine. I can trans over to my camera. Well, let me see if I can get this to work. Okay. Aha. There I am. Hello. This is Spellbinder on the air. Actually, picture. Yes, I had to shave. I'm in a clean room, and so I don't have to wear this hood and this mask over my face. I shaved it. But, well, that's what you have to do when you work in a clean room with microscopes and working on tiny components. That's vital not to get any participants in it, particles of dust or anything. Okay, let me go to my image and zoom in a little bit. There I am. Zoom in a little bit. Camera's a little off. Let me adjust that. There, more centered. Okay. So how's everyone doing tonight? I'm live and on the air. I'm going to trans back to my Firewolf. Need to bring that down a little bit too. Cut my channel. Okay. Anyways, in the news. What's in the news for yous? Anyone have anything more information, European information on what's happening over in, well, either Iraq or over in Ukraine? Anyone have anything they know of? Got this high definition camera going. Okay. And I'm looking through to see what I got for news articles. Don't really have anything right now. Okay, it's down to you and me, Emo. Oh wait, there she's back. She dropped off for a second. Varus ist malade. Why? Okay, let's go on to a headline here. Headline news you may have missed. Okay, I'm going to bring up rents. Rinse.com. And I wanted to do it here, but I can't quite get that to come up. In Rinse.com,
Okay.
okay. Alrighty then. This is under Rinse.com. The picture is of Palestinians being slaughtered. And I like to make the point out that they're basically blood related to Christ's family. If you did not know this, you will know this. Think about it. Christ had a large family of Joshua back in the time, one of the 12 tribes. His family's been living, besides having John the Baptist executed and himself. There were others out there of the family bloodline who's been, say, breeding over 2,000 years, and most of the Palestinians are related to that family. 2,000 years is a long time. And, well, Israel's killing off the rest of Christ's family. It's that simple. Think of it that way. And if you believe in the imaginary, playmate in the sky, then you think you're going to go to heaven if you support Israel? Really? Christians out there? Are you really thinking you're going to go if you support Israel, who's killing off the bloodline of Christ? Family? Just wanted to put it up there that way. It makes you take a double think then. And you sit there and go, well, yeah, it's been 2,000 years. That's a long time, and a lot of family members. And, yeah, they're doing stuff like that. They're doing that. Israel's not the greatest country in the world when it comes down to it, as far as the government. Their own people hate their government. That's what gets me. Their own people even put a guillotine up in the square 5 years ago and trying to tell their government a message. We don't like what you're doing in the world. And it was a protest. And that was done in, it was done in Tel Aviv. And, well, you can look it up. Don't believe it, but it happens. And what else is there going on here? Japan, still a scourge on the world, is Japan's nuclear reactors melting down. Japan doctor says Tokyo should no longer be inhibited. Surge of radiation showing far from Fukushima. Doubts growing fast over Fukushima's ice wall, which isn't going to work. They've put so much water in the ground that the ground is basically a marsh. They're all around the plant. I mean, trying to cool down those cores that melted into the ground. Japan quake has raised pressure below Mount Fuji. Now, Fuji's getting ready to go off. There's another one. The volcano there. TIPCO hid rads in rice crops 20 kilometers from Fukushima. Japan nuke plant called unsafe nears restart. Okay, these are just headlines I'm just going through. Docs tell dying Reagan crew it's all psychological. That's right, the ship that was out there when Fukushima went up and they were off coast and they got irradiated from the initial plutonium fallout. The docs are telling them that it's all psychological. Those big blisters and stuff on your arm, don't worry about them. That's all psychological. You're not radioactive. Huh? Does suspect covert 1992 nuke weapon transfer to Israel. Oh, well, that's no news. They got 800 of them now ready to use. on the Middle East if they're pressured. Russia calls for international investigation to MH17 crash. 10 questions Russia wants Kiev to answer about MH17. See, those missiles that they're saying are Russian ground-air missiles, well, those missiles were transferred over there before the end of the Cold War, or when Russia and Ukraine were one country and they separated. They've already had these weapons on stash, and so it's becoming more and more of an issue that Russia had nothing to do with this, and the Kiev government in Ukraine had everything to do with it. To try to the ideal was that they were going to try to blow Putin out of the air when he came back home from South America doing the bulk agreement with the 80 countries that have signed upon these countries, have signed in. They're actually signed in and saying, yes, we will trade in any currency but the US dollar. And that's what's going on there. Russia calls for international investigation in MH17 crash. Weird. Many MH17 bodies said drained of blood, decomposing. Well, that kind of happens, but I wouldn't say vampires attacked them or anything. That would be a conspiracy theory. I mean, Devi, she's a writer, says down MH17 act of war. Let me tell you something. And then Israel using toxic gas to kill Gaza residents. Monstrous Israeli bombs more Gaza hospitals. Jewish fatwa. Exterminate Palestinians. Operation Bibi Rescue. Brother Nathaniel says Putin's coup in Jew America backyard. And that's Brother Nathaniel. Let's see other headlines here. Hamas growing in military stature by analysis. Analysis is saying that, yeah, they're growing because they're saying we had nothing to do with this. If we did shoot anything at you, they were bottle rockets compared to your missiles. And their bottle rockets never hit anything that they fired over there. They were just giving a warning saying, hey, we know you're going to attack us. So here's our bottle rockets made out of pipes and everything that we have on hand, and grocery store chemicals for rocket propellant, while they got sophisticated missiles and everything over in Jerusalem and Israel and Tel Aviv. Anyways, why we fight the New World Order? Well, we fight it because it's there, and it's trying to make us back into peasants, trying to bring us back into being, say, feudalism. Does feudalism say anything? Over in France, I'm amazed you haven't risen up against your own government in France, just because the way they're acting over there, allowing these illegals to come into your country, and you haven't risen up and had no revolution. Because the last time you had a revolution, well, a few people got beheaded and from the guillotine, and that was back in your history. But it's amazing. Let's see, 9/11, a nuclear event, most classified 9/11 revealed. President Pence conference for the ages. Kiev, bulk missiles operational at crash time. Russia says that. And they probably were. I mean, they were there as a shield for Russia before Russia allowed them to separate from them. And then, well, they got a puppet government through elections. Just like in America, we got a puppet government too. And they're all being ran by corporates, so it's called fascism over here. So yes, America is fascist. We are not fascist by choice, but fascist by corporates. When you have 7 companies running the world like the Umbrella Corporation of Resident Evil, you know something's wrong. And that's what the Umbrella Corporation was in Resident Evil. It was like 7 corporations running the entire planet. They make all your food, they make everything here, and they can give and take. And we're having outbreaks. Like there's a bunch of pigs dying across the American country because a single corporation has all the farms and they're all together in one place. They're not spread out like mom and pop farms or your family farms that you have. They're all concentrated, and they put the mom and pops in America out of business. All the father and mother farms that were farmers, and put them out of business, and then took over, and they put all these animals together, and one gets sick, they all get sick, and then suddenly there's a shortage of food. When they had farms that were spread out across the country, they were miles apart from each other. So if one farm got sick, the next farm several miles away wouldn't get sick, and you'd still be able to get food. Same with GMO. GMO is the most evilest thing that ever Monsanto, I call it, has created. It's Monsanto, and they have created these crops that are so horribly. They work in the laboratory, but when you put them out in the environment, they change. Look at the corn stalks we have in GMO fields in America. Farmers have had to buy Teflon or Kevlar tires for their tractors because the stalks mutated and became like bungee spikes of like bamboo. And when they drive out there to replow the field, their tires are being slashed up and everything by the stalks when they cut them off at the end of the growing season. That's a mutation that wasn't found in the laboratory, but when it was put out in nature, it happened. And that's what we're up against now. We have farmers now buying Kevlar tires, so the stalks don't puncture their tires and flatten them. It's amazing what's going on out there. New information, new questions about the MH17 disaster. And Putin is now demands the most thorough crash probe possible. Separatists pledge full access to plane crash site. So the separatists out there are actually escorting in the international investigators from Malaysia and other places to come out and look at the crash site and do an investigation on it. And they're saying, we're giving you armored protection to get you out there because we don't know what the Kiev government's going to do in the Ukraine, because apparently they believe that they're the ones that launched the missiles and not them. They said, we don't have no missiles. And even the Kiev government came out and said they don't have those missiles. They never confiscated any of them during the war. So they don't really have it. But the American media is out there just blaring away. The MSM, the mainstream media, is here in America saying, yes, it was those darn rebels out there in Russia that did all this. And because they're playing the key to get in war with them. War is a good thing. It makes money. And they get paid good money to speak the propaganda, the 1984. It's just, Orwell would be rolling in his grave going, see, I tried to tell you this, and look what's happening. It's happening now, isn't it? His book was actually a prediction of what he heard when he was in the military intelligence of Britain, and he heard all these stuff that they were planning to do, and he decided under a pseudonym of Orwell write a book called 1984. Well, it seems like that book's coming true now. There's a lot of stuff like that happening. Zionist Hillary declares Putin has gone too far. Yeah, Putin is the chess player. Madman McCain, there's going to be hell to pay. That's what he said. There's going to be hell to pay because you shot down a civilian jet. And Putin's just sitting back going, no, we didn't, but we're going to gather the information and prove we didn't and point the finger who really did. And that's what's going to happen here. This is all going to come to I mean, when you have Kiev murders 20 civilians shelling what is it? Lugansk City Hall. That's Kiev's government. That's the government, actually. That's the capital of the Ukraine, which is a puppet government running in there. They killed so many civilians. Let's see. Russia. U.S. sanctions are revenge for its Ukraine failure. Zionist CNN boots reporter who called Israeli butchers scum. That happened. There's all types of stuff going on out there. I'm just going through headlines here on Rense.com, and you can go there, and Rense is RENSE.com, and you can go through all these articles and see all this is collected. This is not from, most of this is 90% of it's non-mainstream media. These are like basically foreign newspapers, the alternative media, and not the paid people that are in the mainstream media. Scores more dead already in Israel. Total war on Gaza. What happened when 100,000 in Detroit lose all water? Now, if they turn that water off in Detroit, there's going to be riots. That's going to give Obama the opportunity to say it's time for martial law across the Americas. That's when fascism takes its full form and we have a dictator, is when that happens. Welcome to the Fourth Reich in the world today. Alrighty then. The cunning cover for continued genocide. Jews' most popular group in U.S. despite criminality of their own country. A lot of American Jews are against their own country, as well as the people in that country who are being touted so many lies for so long. From the boy who cried wolf, Netanyahu. That's what he's done. He's cried wolf many, many times. With Iran especially, he's like, Iran's going to have a nuclear missile next week. Iran's going to have one in 2 months. Iran's going to have one in 2 years. And he goes on and on and on. And it's like, yeah, but Iran says, we don't have that material. We're doing peaceful nuclear medicine. We're creating peaceful nuclear power plants. Actually, America is supposed to be over there helping them develop their nuclear power plants so they can have power, and they're not doing that. They're siding with Israel, with Netanyahu, the boy who cries wolf. And they're under the Proliferation Treaty. The Nuclear Proliferation Treaty states that Iran signed, the U.S. signed, several other countries signed. The only people it didn't sign who has nuclear missiles and nuclear weapons and everything else is Israel. They never signed the proliferation. And they're getting away with crimes against that particular treaty that was signed by other countries. So Iran is supposed to be getting help to develop peaceful nuclear, basically peaceful nuclear, power plants and stuff like that, stuff to help their country to grow and become bigger And that's not happening. So basically, the U.S. has reneged on their treaty of nuclear proliferations, and, well, Israel never signed it. Israel was caught a few years ago trying to sell a nuclear weapon to South Africa. Why? Because they can get away with that because they're not under the Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, where you can't do that if you sign that treaty. You can't go to any country and sell a nuclear weapon to them. Well, see what's happening. See what's coming down the pike with them. I mean, this is just madness. We're surrounded by a bunch of criminals, and that's what it is. A bunch of people who think they're holier than God, basically, or they believe in the playmate in the sky and have these delusions in their head that he's telling me to do this, he's telling me to do that. Really? That's called psychosis, isn't it? And any other term, hearing voices in your head? I mean, oh, yes, these people are really. And but that gets me because the Khazars that actually are in Israel are not even Semites. They're non-Semites. Look at Netanyahu. He's so white, he makes a piece of white paper look dark. He glows in the dark. He's so white. That's because they come from southern Russia, up in an area up there where they were being persecuted, and they adopted the Jewish religion of Judaism, Judaism, and they became
Et maman, il
Jews.
y a quelqu'un qui s'appelle DX, et il habite à Lille. Ouais. Il dit, tu habites près de moi. Il dit, qui, moi? Et puis après, il me dit, oui. Bah, je sais pas. D'abord, ouais, je sais. Parce que je lui disais, il m'a marqué, tu connais Romani? Puis moi, je lui disais, non, désolé. Il disait, point d'interrogation. Ouais, je sais.
Hmm. Well, that's why I was a hard time understanding that. Is there an interpreter in the room? Yes. Anyway, like I was saying, it's you're looking at a group of people called the Khazars. The Kharsar, Khazars. Um, they're not from. They weren't part of the 12 tribes. They were just given passage after World War II to pick a country where they wanted, and since their ancestors after they became that says we want to go to, you know, go down to Palestine's area, to Judea, and make that our home. And they went down there, and they started their little city, little continent there. And if you look at the maps since 1948 until today, who is the aggressor on the Semites? The aggressors are the Khazars, Jews. And Jews is not a race. I'm sorry to tell you that Jew is not a race. Jew is a religion. Judaism. It's like I'm not if I'm a Christian, I don't claim myself as a race of Christians.
Quoi?
I claim myself as a race of Americans. See the difference and what they're doing down there and what we're doing here. We call ourselves Americans. We're all Americans. It doesn't really matter if we're black, white, green, yellow, or purple. We're Americans. And we're not calling ourselves the race of Christians. We're calling ourselves Americans. They're calling themselves the race of Judaism. Basically, they're claiming that their religion is their race. That is not how it works. They are either Semite or not Semite, and the Khazars are not Semite. They're non-Semitic. They are killing the Semitics that are in the Middle East down there. Like I said, the whole Palestinians have been there for over 2,000 years, and these people come down in 1948 and claim they're the real Semites, and they're not the real Semites. Anyway, like I said, they're killing off the real bloodline of Jesus as far as his father's side, his mother's side, and these people weren't crucified or anything, and they continued to breed over 2,000 years. And now all the Palestinians have some of their blood in them, of the family name that Jesus was under. And, that's the house of David and the house of Judea and these other family names. All the Palestinians are really the real people that should be there. And they're being exterminated under genocide by these people who came from southern Russia and moved down there after World War II in 1948. That's the truth of what's going down. And it's really, really sad of what's happening to the Palestinians. I mean, it's just like, ooh. I mean, really, we shouldn't be having this all-out genocide happening. But we are having this, and it's pretty wild what's going on. Well, back to the Ukraine. Let's just go back to that, since that seems to be the issue of the day on the menu of the mainstream media. Here's an article here by Itar TASS. It says, militants do not have Ukrainian bulk missile system, Ukrainian General Prosecutor stated. And that was covered on some news. Professor RT covered that, of course. Kiev, July 18th. Militants in the self-proclaimed Donetsk and Luhansk, I can't pronounce that, People's Republic of Ukraine air defense missile system, the bulk and the S-300 at their disposal. Ukrainian Prosecutor General Vitaly Yarema told Ukraine Pravda newspaper on Friday. After the passenger airline was down, the military reported to the president that terrorists do not have our air defense missile systems, bulk in the S-300. The general prosecutor said these weapons were not seized. He added, Ukrainian Interior Minister Anton Gerasimov said on July 17 that the Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 airliner had been down by an air defense missile system bulk. Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 airline on the way from the Dutch city of Amsterdam to the Malaysian capital of Kuala Lumpur crashed in Ukraine on Thursday. All 298 people aboard the airline died in the crash. So they actually came out and said that, yeah, the rebels or the separatists that want to join in with Russia at the Ukraine did not have these weapons. So their government, somebody in their government shot that missile up there. And as I said, they were after Putin and his jet and not the Malaysian jet. They were after him, is one theory on this. and it's just a theory because no one really knows except that that came out in Russia Today. That Russia Today mentioned that, during that same time period when the Malaysian jet was coming over, it was delayed for several minutes before takeoff, and supposedly now the news is that the um, the air controller in Kiev redirected the Malaysian jet to fly over that particular area. It was flying south of that area, but was told it could fly over that particular area, and it flew over it. It was over 5 miles up in the air. These missiles that are military missiles that the rebels never had can go up to 70,000 feet and hit an object. They also improved the radar system and is selling the radar system improvement to other countries who have this missile system. And this is done in the Ukraine. The Ukrainians developed a better radar system to track an aircraft for a target. And well, that's in the news today. That came out, and it's starting to smell really bad there, and it sounds like they're just aching to get a war going, and it's not right. We can't have World War III. It's a bad idea. When nukes start falling all over the world, it's going to make Chernobyl and Fukushima look like a firecracker in damage. It's just going to be horrible. It's going to drive us into a global winter, a nuclear winter. We're already going into a mini ice age. This could actually trigger a full-blown ice age. France would be at the edge of a glacier in a few years. Uh, Tennessee, Kentucky could be at the edge of a glacier in a few years. Believe that Japan would be covered in ice. I can go around the world and look at the same latitude, below 40 degrees, say 50-degree latitude would be covered in ice. That's not going to be a good thing. It's just not going to be a good thing. No, not at all. Um, I mean, this is all coming down the pipe, and what are we going to do? Well, if everyone stands up and tells governments no, they'll back off. Everyone says so because they're the few and we're the many. The 1% are only like maybe a couple of thousand people actually running it. Then there's the ones that are the underdogs that are under these, the undercast that's helping them out, say 20,000. And you go there and you look at the world, it has about 6.2 billion people on it or so. So 6.2 against, say, 200,000 people, who's going to win? Well, the 6.2 is going to win over these governments and everything. I mean, we outnumber them several thousand to one. And that's what's coming down out of this. Okay, here's one from Moscow, from RTTV. It says, Moscow, no book missile system or other weapons cross Russia-Ukraine border. The Russian Defense Ministry has said that neither the book missile defense system nor any other military equipment has crossed the Russian border in the Ukraine. Such border crossings can't be performed in secrecy. The official representative for the Russian Defense Ministry told journalists in Moscow. Earlier, the Ukrainian Security Service, SBU, alleged that it has proof the self-defense forces in eastern Ukraine received the bulk anti-aircraft missile system with a crew from Russia. The Malaysian flight MH17 was shot down by a missile from the bulk M air defense system, which was transferred from the territory of Russia, said Valentin Nalvachenko, SBU head, without elaborating on the evidence. Shortly after the Thursday tragedy, Ukraine President Petro Poroshenko addressed the nation, saying that what happened to the Malaysian MH17 flight was a terrorist act. The statement came before Kiev launched an investigation into the crash to determine what exactly happened to the Malaysian jet. The Russian Defense Ministry spokesman also denied statements by the Ukrainian side, which denounced the detonation of two spotters for bulk anti-aircraft missile systems on its territory who were Russian citizens. We should clarify that such specialists as spotters are used only for those weapon systems which are aimed to engaging ground-based targets, he said. Bulk is a family of self-propelled, medium-range surface-to-air missile systems developed by the former USSR and Russia to engage targets at engagement altitude of 11 to 25,000 meters, so it's actually less than 70,000 feet. Depending on the model. Previously, the Russian Defense Ministry said that the Ukrainian bulk anti-aircraft missile battery was operational in the area in the Donetsk region where the Malaysian plane crashed. Ukrainian bulk battery radar was operational when Malaysian plane downed, says Moscow. The Russian equipment detected throughout July 17th activity at Kopol radar deployed as part of a bulk M1 battery near Stada, a village some 30 kilometers south of Donetsk. The ministry said in a statement, according to the Russian side, the Ukrainian military has deployed several bulk batteries with at least 27 launchers capable of bringing down high-flying jets in the Donetsk area region. Malaysian airline flight MH17 carrying almost 300 people on board crashed on Thursday as it was flying over Ukraine Donetsk region, the scene of heavy fighting between the Ukraine military and the local self-defense forces. See, they're calling them, they're not rebels, they're self-defense forces. They're defending themselves against their illegal government. And that's what's going on there. They did not have access to this missile system. And it takes 6 fully trained soldiers to operate this system. Fully trained. I mean, they have to know there's a radar guy, there's the launch technician, there's the I can't mention them all right now. It's I've heard it earlier what it took, but it took 6 people to launch this missile system. It's not a one man can do this. It's got to be at least 6 people involved, and they are highly skilled to launch these particular bulk missiles. Okay. Let me see another article here that's of interest. We can get back to Japan. Japan nuke plant called unsafe nears restart. I could go to that one. This is interesting, though. The crew of the warship Reagan, the United States warship, emotional interviews with Navy sailors suffering after Fukushima exposure. Others with same symptoms told to be quiet. Nobody's heard from them. Health is worsening. Worried I am going to die. Can't really use legs or arms. Hands barely functional. Rashes all over my body. Spasms, shaking. Doctors tell it. It's all psychological. See, they're being told by their veteran. The VA doctors are telling them that don't worry about it. It's all psychological. You're not suffering radiation poisoning. You're okay. Sure, with rashes and all this stuff all over them and can't use their arms and legs. Something's wrong here. Fevers running as high as 102.9 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's about like 48 degrees centigrade. Fevers with stomach bug. Fevers as high as January 12th was the first time I was hospitalized. They sent me home with sinus infection. 3 days later, I was readmitted to the hospital because my lymph nodes were swelling. That's when my legs buckled and the muscles weakened, started an onset. This is when one of the soldiers on the USS Reagan is telling. He says that he talks about all types of illnesses he's having to deal with because of Fukushima. And you can get the full interview on ENE News at their website, enenews.com, capital ENE and small news.com. Anywho, surges of radiation showing far from Fukushima. This is pretty bad. Okay. Let's see where this is happening at. Okay, it says let me see. Manami Soma. Manami Soma. The team found that cesium levels at the measuring point of Manami Soma surged in both May and June. Now, how far away is that from Fukushima? 48 kilometers northwest of the plant. Okay. So 48 miles northwest of the plant, they're getting these high readings of radiation in Japan. Okay. This is pretty wild. We're running into all this information. And it's just not right. Okay. About Mount Fuji. Now this could be an interesting thing. If Mount Fuji goes up, this is going to worsen everything. Because they turned on some of the nuclear power plants back on. And we have 4 known China syndromes happening right now in Japan. China Syndrome was a movie. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it, where it was almost a China Syndrome was what came out in the movie. But it happened in Japan, it happened for real, that they had core meltdowns, and they melted down through the base of the reactors, are now in the ground, hot nuclear material, and it's fusing in the ground. In other words, it's reacting, getting hotter and hotter, and releasing more and more radiation. And this is what's happening down in the ground. And now Mount Fuji, Fujisan, as it is known in Japanese, is the highest point on the land. The national emblem immortalized in countless etchings. In June last year, it added to the World Heritage List, the sacred place and source of artistic inspiration. But it is still an active volcano standing at the junction between the Pacific, Eurasian, and the Philippine tectonic plates. Though it has rarely stirred in record history, it is still potentially explosive. And they're concerned about reactions coming out. It's starting to smoke off the sides and stuff, and it's getting to be a concern, just like Yellowstone in the United States. That's a super volcano. The whole state of Wyoming is one big super volcano. This thing is huge. It's a giant volcano. It doesn't have a stack like you can see a volcano with this big mountain type stack on it. it's a flatbed stack, which makes it even worse because it can blow up at any time. They're saying that over the years, the last few years, there's been ground in Yellowstone rising 20 feet in one area and 30 feet in another and dropping in other areas. So this lava is starting to converge back and forth, causing waves underneath the ground in Yellowstone Park. And they've been having constant earthquakes in Yellowstone for the last 3 years, just constant 2.1s. They're like small earthquakes, but they're constant, kind of like LA, and they're just going on and on and on. Yeah, we're in deep crud right now. Surges of radiation showing far from Fukushima. I just read that. Uh, I want to go to anything I come across here that's information that you need to know right now. Let's see. Here's the article. Daily Mail reported this. This is from the Daily Mail in the UK. John McCain warns of, okay, there is going to be hell to pay, and there should be. John McCain warns of incredible repercussions if Russia forces or pro-Russian separatists down to MH17. Hawkish GOP senator threw down the gauntlet and warned Vladimir Putin. Russia's president called the idea of involvement in his government or its proximity stupidity. McCain suggested that separatist forces in eastern Ukraine may have mistaken the Boeing 777 jet for a Ukrainian government military plane. He also blasted President Barack Obama for what he said were anemic sanctions leveled at Putin following Russia's annexation of Crimea. Okay, and I'm having this little problem with pop-ups. I gotta keep unpopping them. Okay, U.S. Senator John McCain said Thursday that there would be hell to pay, and there should be if Russian forces or pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine were behind the missile attack that brought down Malaysian Airlines Flight 17. This was an airliner headed towards Russian airspace. The Arizona Republican said on MSNBC, and it has the earmarks, and I'm not concluding, but it has the earmarks of a mistaken identification of aircraft that they may have believed was Ukrainian. If it's true, it's a horrible, tragic event which was certainly anticipated by anyone and nobody, or no matter who they are, and there will be incredible repercussions if this is the case. If this is the result of either separatist or Russian actions mistakenly believing it to be a Ukrainian warplane, McCain warned, I think there's going to be hell to pay, and there should be. Well, let's put it this way. He's not mentioning that Putin was on his way home at the same time, and that this Malaysian jet got there before he did means that he got spared being blown out of the sky and causing chaos in Russia, and the Ukraine government gets to go on with business selling oil to the banksters and anyone else out there. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. What is it? 4 o'clock now. Well, McCain is just raving. I mean, it's just raving. This guy has deep roots into the New World Order, and he just doesn't stop. There's a lot of videos on here, all types of videos, and it's amazing. This is from the UK, from the Daily Mail, and they're showing off the missiles and everything, and McCain's up there. He's on the way. This guy should retire. He's half senile as it is, anyways. I mean, these politicians who have, who keep getting elected, when you know the people in Arizona don't like his thinking, something means that the uh, the polls are being rigged, and I do believe that we have a lot of voter fraud going on, rigging of our votes. We never get to speak what we want. I mean, look at what happened to Ron Paul. This guy was going to bring us out of all this and make peace with everyone on the planet. He said, I want to make peace. I want to be friends. I want to trade with people. I don't want war with them. I want to have trade. Well, the Republican Party couldn't hear that because they were the status party. And the Democrats definitely didn't want him because they're socialists and fascists at the same time. Which now the socialists of the Democrat Party is backing away from Obama because they're seeing Obama as a dictator, and they don't want that either. So both parties are backing away as far as they can from Obama and all his stuff like Obamacare, a total failure. I mean, I've talked to people in Canada about their health care, and it's costing so much money in taxes that people are losing their homes in Canada now because of the way everything works up there with this socialist medicine. Because they bring in all these illegals and they let them come in and they get all that stuff for free. And the people who actually pay for it have to pay more to cover the people who go in there. France is the same way. France is having the Muslim problem. You have all these Muslims coming in there and they're taking over their country. We have Mexicans coming in. They're taking over our country. Canada is starting to get some of that bulk of our Mexicans coming in. And they're not just Mexicans, they're South Americans. They're coming up with all these diseases, and we're going to have a plague in America. And it's only a matter of time until Ebola comes into our country. And that's when the crisis begins. And that's when they're going to use all that martial law stuff that they've been setting up for years now, buying all this ammo and everything. It's all about taking down the American people and turning them into peasants, taking away everything they have, and these people become kings over the land, and they prance around with their crowns and their robes and have you grovel at their feet, and that's what's going to happen. It's feudalism coming again. They're bringing back feudalism to the world. Welcome to the new world. This is what the new world order is. Feudalism for the many and godlikeness to the few. And that's what they're doing. That's basically what's coming down the pike. I mean, if you don't already feel it, then you're not in the right place yet. It's coming there if you don't feel it yet. Feudalism, if you're a feudal and you're living on the king's land, you'll work your entire life just to live. That's why they're making all the food in the one concentration and everything, because they know that food is a weapon. And if you're not eating and you want to eat, you'll do whatever the government tells you to do. They want you to stand on your head. Hell, you're standing on your head for a morsel of food. This is what's coming down the pipe. I'm telling you, it's all been happening over the years. I've been saying this for years before it even was noticeable. Now it's absolutely noticeable. And I've been saying this for years. I haven't been off track since I started on my trek to hunt down these criminals, the criminals of the few, all because they're rich and powerful doesn't mean they can become kings and queens and prance around in robes and crowns and have you grovel at their feet. That just doesn't happen. They're supposed to be the people that actually bring up the rest of society, of humanity and bring us up. Oh no, they're not doing that. They're taking us down and bringing themselves up to a godlike status. And this is where they're headed towards. They want to be the new God over the human race. And this is what their whole idea is. This is what it's been for 20, 30 years. This has been the key. I mean, they're supposed to have this in place in 2000. That's why they had the Y2K thing happen, because that was supposed to be the turning point. Well, it didn't happen. They're going, well, we missed our schedule. We didn't get our way and become gods and kings and queens and dukes and earls and prance around in our crowns and our robes and have people grovel at our feet. Now they're getting ready to do that. Now they're getting ready to put the hammer down. The fist is coming down on the populace of the world. The few to become leaders over the many and become basically dictators, I guess. Kings, that's all King was a dictator. He was as a dictator with royalty name behind him. King whatever, a dictator, basically. When they take on that pose, I mean, they don't have to have a uniform on. And, a lot of these dictators you see, they're basically dressed up like they're military and everything with all the chevrons and stuff on them, and they look important. No, kings were actually dictators. That's why we got rid of the monarchy, because the monarchy was nothing but dictators. That was the reason we brought them down. Now they want to come back again. This new generation of monarchs is rising. I mean, America, every president but two of them are related directly to the Queen of England. It's a fact. A 14-year-old girl or 13-year-old girl doing a project for school went through the genealogy of all the presidents up to the present president, Obama, and they all relate back to the Queen of England. They all are part of that family name, the Germans. It's a German, the Queen of England is German, actually. And it's not what you, I mean, it goes back to a German monarchy, and they came and took over England back in, what was that, the 18th century or so that they took over. It was around the 18th, 17th century, and the Queen of England actually is German. The actual British bloodline of the of UK or of England itself was taken over by this family that married in and then took over, and now we have Queen Elizabeth I, had the second, and now we have the present Queen, and they've taken over, and it's all monarchy. That's a dictatorship. Monarchyism is a dictatorship. It just has a fancy royal name to it, but it's still a dictator. A dictator is a dictator. They rule everything and have their thumb on everything. And well, they want to bring that back. They want to bring back feudalism to our countries. Feudalism is good. Freedom is bad. It's the Orwellian way. War is peace. War is peace. I now understand that phrase from Orwell's 1984 completely. War is peace. It's peace for them, but sacrifice and death for the others. It's, see? All the Orwellian stuff that's going on. It's just unreal. I'm always amazed by it. Always amazed. Well, I hope you all had a nice evening here. I gotta get to bed now. I didn't see anyone else show up for the invitation. that's about all I had to say and rant about. I guess I'll get off here now and make it tonight. And I hope you all have a beautiful over in France. And I hope you all enjoyed the show. Until next time, well, this is Spellwonder saying be good or be good at it and good night.